We got another great show. Last week, Tony LoBianco was here, the great character actor Tony LoBianco, and another great actor. His resume is insane. I mean, it's embarrassing, really. It really is. Stuart Pankin. If you don't know who Stuart Pankin is, he's been in everything. The Hollywood Knights, Arachnophobia. He's been in everything. Just go look him up. Stuart Pankin. He's been in so many television shows. He's a brilliant actor, stage, film, television. But we're going to talk to Stuart right now because I'm getting hungry. All right. My guest this afternoon, Stuart Pankin, is an incredibly versatile actor whose career in showbiz has spanned more than 5 decades. Oh, my goodness. On the big screen, he has appeared in films such as Scavenger Hunt, An Eye for an Eye, Fatal Attraction, Arachnophobia, Life Stinks, Striptease, Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves, The Artist, and The Hollywood Knights, to name a few. On the small screen, he has appeared in shows like Ally McBeil, Barney Miller, BJ and the Bear, Chips, Matt Houston, my goodness, Trapper John M.D., Not Necessarily the News, Fame, The Golden Girls, Family Ties, oh my God, no wonder why I can't get no work. Who's the Boss, Falcon Crest, Night Court, Knots Landing, my goodness, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and the animated series Dinosaurs. He's one of the great character actors in the industry, guys. Actor Stuart Pankin joins me. First off, Stuart, thank you so much for joining us. That's the show. I mean, that's it. We're all done. We're all out of time.
Yeah, I'm exhausted already. I'm just going to take a nap and I'll come back in a little while.
Oh my God! God bless you. What a resume. And I didn't even scratch the surface. Stuart, I mean, you grew up in Philadelphia, and as we all young kids, we don't know what we want to do in life. How did you get the bug to become an actor, and this is what you want to do?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, as a kid, we used to have Friday night dinners with the family, and I used to, just mess around, do songs and not even sketches, just danced around the room and trying to entertain people. And I was always interested in it, but in high school, the auditorium collapsed, so there was no theater department. There was no plays.
Sorry, did you say collapsed?
Collapsed. The auditorium just collapsed. I mean, I did some stuff in grade school, just like UNICEF plays and just little sketches. But I sort of forgot about it for the 4 years in high school. When I got to college, I was going to major in psychology. But then I don't know, the call for the audition for a play came over, and I walked across a dark campus to audition, and I was hooked.
Wow.
That was it.
I want to take you back to 1968, if I can. It's one of your first off-Broadway plays called Wars of the Roses. I mean, how frightening, again, as a young actor doing Shakespeare, how frightening was that?
Well, it was frightening for a few reasons. It was exciting and frightening. I was a spear carrier and a small bit player for the Shakespeare Festival for 2 years, and which is unbelievably exciting because I don't remember half the actors, but to be on the stage or near the stage with these terrific classical Shakespearean actors was tremendously exciting, and it was nerve-wracking when I went and if I had a scene to go into the rehearsal, into the rehearsal hall and act with these pros. It was intimidating, but my God, it was a fun 2 summers, great 2 summers.
I mean, in terms of learning experience, I mean, how was that?
Well, you never not learn when you do stuff and you watch other actors. I mean, to be honest with you, you could watch, great actors, all your life and never get up to that level. But as far as the discipline and learning how to work, coming to work on time and learning your lines, and we all of us, I know I did, understudied a lot of people, and I was very dedicated to do. I mean, I really wanted to do that. So I guess you can say that it taught me some sort of work ethic, work protocol, work discipline.
Like a lot of actors, they all make the trek out to Hollywood to become, to get into film and television. I mean, when did you make the trek out to L.A. to get into films and television?
Well, that's funny. I mean, we always said, as actors, we always would say in New York, how do we get to Hollywood? And then once we get to Hollywood, we always say, how do we get back to New York?
How do we get the hell out of here?
But I was doing Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat in New York, and which was another great experience. And the casting call went out for a character in the San Pedro Beach Bums, which was Aaron Spelling's first and last attempt at hour-long comedy.
Right.
And in those days, you didn't need an agent. You didn't have to sign with an agent. So some agent, saw me in the show and submitted me, and I auditioned, and excuse me, and luckily I got it. I mean, for better or for worse, I got it. I mean, I was working pretty good in New York, but you can't make a living in New York. You can never make a living in New York as an actor. So everybody wanted to get out to California, to Hollywood, to do film and TV, and luckily the opportunity came along.
Interesting.
It brought me out there.
Yeah, in 1979, you played the role. You make a movie called, one of my favorites, by the way, a Scavenger Hunt, classic comedy. I mean, talk about the progression. How do you? I mean, like again, you just out in L.A. and how did you get did you have an agent to get that part? Did you read for it?
I don't remember. It's been a long time ago. I probably did read for it. I probably did have an agent, and that's how I got it. I mean, there was no spectacular, oh, baby,
right.
I saw you on,
somebody was sick
at
that
Schwab's
week.
drugstore.
Yeah, Schwab's. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Nobody was sick that week, and I mean, that's happened to me, but not in that particular case.
Just so my audience knows, in 1979, just going to give you some of the cast: Tony Randall, Richard Benjamin, James Coco, Vincent Price, Scatman Crothers. I mean, Ruth Gordon, Cloris Leachman, Roddy McDowell, Cleavon Little, and a young Arnold Schwarzenegger. Did you ever meet any of them?
Well, I met a lot of them. I didn't even know Schwarzenegger was in the movie. There was a big scene at the end when all the actors came together, and so I had scenes with Cleavon and Jimmy Coco and Tony Randall. Those guys I know because they were in the movie. Schwarzenegger I didn't know. Vincent Price I never met.
Oh, you didn't meet?
He was in it early.
Wow, yeah, amazing cast, amazing film.
Yeah, my friends used to say it's the cast of the entire lifetime cast of the Hollywood Squares was in that movie.
You did the Hollywood Squares. I mean, did you do the?
I did a few times. I loved it.
Your wife got it. I heard you talking about the Last Square. Your wife could have a life-changing experience.
The Last Square?
I don't mean to segue, but yeah, was it the Last Square? She was a contestant. Was she not?
Oh, you're talking about the pyramid.
I'm talking pyramid.
Sorry, the $25,000 pyramid.
Yes.
She was a contestant in New York, and she had, I won't mention the names, but she had some very bad celebrity contestants, and she had 30 seconds to get the last clue, and it was a clue that even Dick Clark said
which is like a lifetime.
Yeah. Oh, in that game it was. But Dick said that it was people could only, I won't bore you with it, but there was only one clue that anybody in that show could think of, and my wife got stuck with it. Yeah, that could have been life-changing because that was a lot of money in those days. Still is.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get sidetracked. Did you come from an acting family or no?
No. My uncle was the treasurer of the Alvin Theater in New York. He was working in Philadelphia, and he was asked personally by Flo Ziegfeld to come to New York to manage the Follies.
Ziegfeld
Follies. But that's, and my family and my aunt, of course, who was married to him, was very big. She loved show business, but that's as close as I got to a showbiz connection.
Interesting, because a lot of times you hear, my cousin was a so-and-so, my cousin was Michael Madsen, and things like that.
No.
None of that.
My parents were incredibly supportive, for me to be an actor, but nobody was in showbiz.
So your parents are very supportive?
They were, sure.
Wow, excellent. It's good to know. And not necessarily the news. It was a very great on HBO, very comedy. I mean, you played the role of Bob Charles in not necessarily the news. I mean, how did you get that role?
It's a complicated story, but I had done a show called a very short-lived series called No Soap Radio. One of the writers on that was a guy named Ron Richards, who later worked for not necessarily the news. He was on the writing staff, and I saw him at a screening once, and he said, one of the actors is leaving. You want to audition for it? And I said, what is it? And he said, well, it's a cable show. I said, what's cable? I mean, in those days, you didn't know anything about it. So I said, sure. So I auditioned. I remember the audition actually very well, and got the job. And in the beginning, it was a real struggle because it was so low budget and so in the trenches work, late hours and early calls. And then it got better. And then as the show became successful, it became much more desirable to be on it. No, that was a great 6 years.
Doc Severinsen's daughter involved in that project?
Yeah, Nancy Severinsen was the music coordinator and the location coordinator. She used to sneak us into places to film all over the place. And then later, like because of Nancy, I did a Cinemax special, and actually Doc performed in it. So it was.
Oh wow!
I played the trumpet, or I played the trumpet, and he was instrumental in me being involved in the trumpet when I listened to him on the record. So to work with Doc Severinsen even briefly, and he actually gave me one of his trumpets as a present. I mean, it was just it was just a serendipitous relationship. Nancy was great.
Interesting behind the scenes. How about Conan O'Brien was a writer as well?
Conan was for a brief period of time. I don't know how long he stayed, and I don't even know if I met him, but because there were a lot of writers and we all worked separately. But yeah, he did I remember he did a very funny sketch about washing the Shroud of Turin and getting that stain off. It was very funny.
It's a very funny show. It's up. Actually, it's up on YouTube, I believe. You can check it out on YouTube. It's a very
cool.
Very, very funny show. And Stuart, I want to ask you, because you have such a vast resume, like I said in the intro. As an actor, how frustrating is it when you think you did a great scene and you go see the movie or whatever, they give it to you and it's cut out? I mean, is it frustrating for you?
It's the worst.
Yeah,
it's terrible, and that happened. That happens to actors, and it's happened to me. Throughout the as you said, the 50 years of working in the business. You see it, and you expect it to come. Like I was in The Artist, and I had a wonderful scene. We took half a day to shoot it, and when I went to see the movie, so little, none of that scene was in, and only a little bit of me was in it, and that was really hurtful. But then, something, it happens, and. You sort of got to take a deep breath, scream at the cat, kick the dog, and then move on.
Yeah, the ride home must not be fun.
Yeah, it wasn't fun that day.
Talk about working on it. In 1987, you played Jimmy in the thriller Fatal Attraction. Talk a little bit about what the director Adrian Lyne had, what influence he had on you and your role.
Oh well, I am incredibly grateful to Adrian because it was shooting in New York. And I was filming not necessarily the news in California, and they said, Sherry Lansing, who later we became friends, she told Adrian, get a guy in New York. I mean, right. And he said, no, I want Stuart Pankin. And for that, I'll always be, I auditioned for him, and then we had an improvisation. And I can't, he was great. His vision made that movie, I think, as good as it was, because he came up with some great ideas, and he was incredibly supportive to actors and to let us, do our thing, as we say in the trade. But I cannot express my gratitude enough to him for letting me be a part of that movie. It was a terrific experience.
How crazy is it that movie's over 30 years ago?
Yeah, I know. On the 25th anniversary, they did a DVD special of Fatal Attraction, and I answered some questions for them, and all the cast did. I think Ann Archer and Michael was there. But yeah, 30 years. It's and I did the movie when I was 13 and a half, so I'm still young.
Hi-yo. Good one. How was working with Michael Douglas?
It was great. He was great, and Adrian sent us all out to him, he and Ann and me and Ellen Foley, who played my wife. They sent us out to lunch to get to know each other, which was very smart. And we had a great deal of fun filming that movie. And then afterwards, Michael was producing. He actually produced a pilot, an improv pilot, and he called me and Reba, who's married to Danny DeVito.
Rhea Perlman.
Rhea Perlman. He called us in and he said, you want to be on the panel and we'll judge these improv things? And I said, sure. So that's kind of the last time I spoke to him. But all those experiences, especially Fatal Attraction, was great.
Stuart, again, such a vast resume. You've probably done thousands of scenes. I mean, as an actor... Thousands, literally. I mean, as an actor, what do you do when a scene just not working? Do you deal with the director or the writer and say, listen, this is not working. I don't get a good chemistry here. Is there anything you can do?
That's a tough question. Well, I used to come and I guess from my New York experience, I used to come, and even in the early days, the San Pedro Beach films, I used to rewrite, and I just took it for granted that they would accept that, and they did. I mean, Aaron Spelling a director complained about us rewriting, me and the other guys rewriting, and Aaron said to the director, look, for the 1% that they screw up and we have to edit around it, it's worth the 99.5%, that they make it better. So that's one thing you can do. You can suggest script changes. To be honest with you, and I'm not saying it's because I'm unusual, but I don't remember any major time when we're doing something on television or movies or even on the stage when we said to each other, boy, this is not working. This sucks. I just, and because
you're just that good, Stuart. You're just that good. I mean,
Well, I'm not gonna call you a liar on the radio. No, but it's a question of if you cast it right, then usually you can suck and glean from it what you need to get it right.
Yeah, you can just blend in the suckiness.
Yeah, the suckiness. That's right.
You make a groundbreaking animation show called Dinosaurs. Talk about that because it's still a hit. I mean, you see, it's still on YouTube and stuff. A lot of young kids can watch it nowadays. I mean, what did that mean for your career at the time?
It was. Well, it's funny. I mentioned No Soap Radio and Ron Richards and the writer. The other producer-writer was Michael Jacobs, who produced Dinosaurs. And it was a very proud moment because everybody in Hollywood read for that show, and I got it. And I remember the audition very well. Just being up there in front of a ton of people. And when we got it, we were told later that it was the most expensive half-hour show on television because the animatronics, the Henson puppets, were so expensive to build and maintain that even that's one of the reasons the show didn't go on because it was just too expensive. But it was. I used to say it was a job that I loved having and hated to do because basically you were in a studio, in a recording studio for anywhere from the pilot took 16 hours, 2 8-hour days to do, and then we whittled it down. But you're basically sitting in a recording studio and voicing the mouth movements of the puppets, and that's you just got to take a deep breath, have a nice protein-rich breakfast, and go in and do the job. But the nice thing about that is I think I'm actually going to talk to somebody later this week about Dinosaurs. It was a great show for kids who didn't necessarily understand the political ramifications. It was a great show for adults because there was some really subtle, nice stuff going on. And it was beautifully produced and beautifully made. And I remember being on the set occasionally, and it was just like magic. It was magic watching these guys, and Bill Beretta, who was inside the Earl costume, is now a big producer, a bigwig at the Henson Company. Oh, wow. So it probably helped his career more than me.
Stuart, we're actually in Boston. In 1989, you filmed a movie here in Boston called Second Sight with John Larroquette
Second Sight
and Bronson Pinchot. Talk a little bit about that if you can, real quick, because I want to have fun. Go ahead.
Well, real quick, my manager in Hollywood was Bernie Brillstein, and then Bernie became president of Lorimar, and he put me in that movie with those two guys, which was great. And I don't even think I had to audition. I think I had to go have dinner with Bronson Pinchot, and if he liked me, he put me in the movie. And that's the truth. But it happened during the writer's strike. The script was written by the guy who I think did Dead Poets Society. It was really a great script. And the problem was that every night, people whose names I should not mention went off and tried to tweak it, and it turned out to be not quite as good as it could have been because there was no writer around.
Exactly.
And anything that they found that there was a problem with it, they did it themselves, and sometimes they were successful, and a lot of times they weren't. But again, I mean, there's nothing that I've ever done that hasn't been exciting or enriching or fun.
You mentioned,
and it was great.
You mentioned problems, Stuart. Do you think the producers had a problem or made a big mistake when they cut the Teamsters president's daughter out of the picture?
Where did you hear that?
Well, it's some people know how to put carburetors together. This is what I do. Yeah.
Well, that was a very interesting day. I mean, he cast the Teamsters daughter, and then for some reason he cut her out. the next day there wasn't a truck to be seen on the location. Seriously, nothing.
I believe it.
And then he called and said, the producer called and said, we found that we really could use her. Could you get it back that afternoon? Those trucks were there.
Oh yeah, gassed up, ready to go. Because I remember those days, and the Teamster president right back then, he was a little, I don't want to say shady, but I don't want to end up in a truck.
I don't know him. I think we had dinner with him once. All of us had dinner with him. But it's amazing you know that story. That I've never forgotten that.
Wow, my goodness! Now the Teamsters president right now is Sean O'Brien. Is he's great. He brought a ton of work to this state, and he's doing a great job with Massachusetts and the film tax credits. And yeah, they're great.
Oh, great.
Yeah, they're really kicking ass. So you work with. How was it working with Mel Brooks? You did I believe you did 3 projects with Mel Brooks. Life Stinks. The Vagrant, and I believe it was a episode of Mad About You. Am I wrong?
Boy, you know your stuff, man.
Yeah, well, it's a hobby. I love it. I love this kind of stuff.
But yeah, that's exactly right. We worked together 3 times. Mel on Life Stinks was the writer, the producer, the director. He did everything, and we filmed it in one of the hottest hot spells in Los Angeles at the time, which was a big problem. But working with him, how can that go? Right. How can you go bad? I mean, he had a lot on his plate, and he handled it with as we say in the trade, aplomb. Right. He was intense in his leadership. Right. And then The Vagrant, he produced The Vagrant, and he put me in that. It was one of Bill Paxton's movies, and the only time I worked with Bill, and of course when he died, it was a very sad thing.
Yeah, shock. I mean, I think that was Teddy Wilson's last film too.
Oh, Teddy in
The Vagrant.
In The Vagrant, wasn't Teddy Wilson in Life Stinks too?
I believe he was.
I think he was.
That was 92. I believe Life Stinks was 92, and I think I think so. So you Mel Brooks. I mean, did you get the chance to meet Anne Bancroft?
Oh yeah. I mean, that was a great.
You lucky dog.
We went to a rap party or something, and Anne Bancroft was there, and we went up to her, and of course both of us, said, "Oh my God, Miss Bancroft, we just love you." And she said to us, "How many times did you see The Graduate?" And Joy said, "Well, we love you in The Graduate," but she mentioned a play that we had seen her in with Max von Sydow. It was a 2-hander when she had muscular dystrophy or cerebral palsy, something bad. And as soon as we mentioned that, it was like a 15-minute talk about the theater, and that was what she was interested in, to talk about the theater and that play, because she was great.
Fantastic. How was it meeting Mel Torme?
Oh, cool, great.
Because you're a big fan of his.
I'm a huge fan of his, and I did a couple of night courts, or 2 or 3 with Harry Anderson, and Harry is a big friend of Mel's. Right. So we went to some benefit, charity thing, and Harry was there, and I said, "Can I?" Or maybe he said, "Would you like to meet Mel Torme?" I said, "Can I meet Mel Torme?" It was it was fabulous. I met him there. And I met him actually on the street in Westwood once, and in front of a donut shop, and we talked, and we played poker together once.
Oh wow!
In a game. Yeah. So I still listen to his stuff. I still collect his stuff.
Yeah, I love the old stuff.
He's great.
He actually did an episode of Night Court, I believe.
Yeah, I did about 3 of them.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I'm saying he did. You did 3.
He did. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that episode. I was a kid. I remember that. Well, that's funny. You actually work with Don Knotts? Is that true?
Yes. It was called What a Country. It was Yakov Smirnoff's series. I don't know how long it went on. Yeah, but that again. I mean, I was such a fan of his growing up as a kid, and I played a lawyer, and I got a chance to cross-examine him. It's great. I mean, I love Ever since I came to California, I've loved looking at celebrities. I know I'm old now, and I've worked with a lot of them, but I still love to see them. And there's never a celebrity, or more importantly, a character actor that I see that I tried not to go up. I tried to go up to them and tell them how much I like their work, because character actors don't get that recognition sometimes.
Right, and as an actor yourself, I mean, if you're doing a scene like you say with Don Knotts, you can't be starstruck while you're doing a scene.
No,
you know what I mean.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You got to do your job, and then afterwards you say, Mr. Knotts, geez,
right?
I'm such a big fan.
I mean, it's your livelihood. It's how you eat. I mean, basically. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know if you ever heard the old joke about, do you know the difference between a large cheese pizza and being an actor is?
No.
A large cheese pizza can feed a family of 4. But
sad but true.
That's right. It's true. It's a tough gig, and you hear every actor, every video, every interview I've ever seen where the reporter, the interviewer says, what kind of advice can you give an actor? Every single one, I swear to you, says, don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's true.
When people say to me, because I'm of a certain age now, they say, why don't you teach? And I can't, in all honesty, stand in front of a class of shiny-faced kids, telling them to go into a business that has 95% unemployment.
Right.
I can't do it. I mean, I just cannot honestly do that. So I agree with you. It's not a great. You can't stop people. Nobody could stop me. And you probably nowadays you can't stop kids who want to be in show business, because it's a glamorous, exciting profession. I mean, that's the long and the short of it. But it's 95% unemployment, and even of that 95, a lesser percentage makes a living wage. So it's tough.
Yeah, it's very difficult. And, unfortunately, a lot of kids, young kids, good-looking kids. A friend of mine who's like I'm straight as the day's long, but he's a very handsome gentleman, and he used to do model print work, and he did the runways, all the everything, and he moved out to LA to become an actor. And I says, how you make it out? He goes, everybody looks like me. You know what I mean? Over here, he was a big deal, but when you go out to LA, it's it's a different animal.
It sure is. Sure is.
And a lot of kids come out here in buses, and they drive out here, Winnebagos, and they move out here, and there is a dark side to the flip side of if you don't make it, unfortunately, and
sure.
And they fall into whatever drugs or whatever it is, and it is sad. It's a difficult, like you say, it's a difficult life. I mean, fame is not everything it's cracked up to be, in my opinion.
No, there are the downsides and the dark sides to fame. I mean, look at Judy Garland. I mean, it's
right.
And she's one in 100,000.
Right. Yeah. It's all right. Sorry, I didn't mean to get. I didn't mean to be
depressed. Yeah, you're really down, man.
I didn't mean to get very depressed in my audience. Anyways, so back to reality. You worked with Larry David. I mean, how was working on Curb Your Enthusiasm with that lunatic? I mean, because everybody I've talked to, they say he's the same.
Well, I can't go that far. It's a fascinating project to work on, because there's no script, and actually, even the storyline is closely guarded.
Wow.
So when you get on the set, sometimes it's the first time you hear of who you are and what you're supposed to be doing, and then you make it all up, which is great, because no actor likes to learn lines. So that was kind of cool. I mean, if I could work on Curb Your Enthusiasm all the time, it would be a joy. But no, for me, he was fine. He was great. I mean, we did a scene, and I'm talking, and I say something, and go, cut. Now, what you really have to say here is talk about your wife's this and that. I said, okay, da-da-da-da-da, wife's this and that, cut. Now, you also have to get, that's the way it went. The whole day went like that. He kept feeding you storylines and information that you needed to get in touch with. And he was great. I mean, to me, he was great.
Yeah, it's a great show, and the good news is it's coming back in January for another season on HBO.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, that's great. I love that show. And
Bastard doesn't cast me anymore, but I still love him.
I mean, I just got rid of HBO, too. Imagine this. Now I got to get it again.
I know.
One of my favorite comedies, you were actually in it, Hollywood Night, The Hollywood Nights, 1980 comedy, one of my favorite films. It starred yourself, Tony Danza, Michelle Pfeiffer.
Dudley, I want to show you something. Come here, Dudley. Come on. I want to show you something. Come here. Dudley, look. Dudley, are you okay?
Oh, yes.
Robert Wool, I mean, what was that set like?
It was nutsy cuckoo because it was all night shooting. I mean, the whole movie took place at night, Hollywood nights, in the night.
Literally.
So the call time in the summer was like 6 or 7 in the evening, and you'd work until 3 or 4 until everybody just couldn't stand up straight, and then you go home and try to sleep and come back the next day. So that was nutsy. I enjoyed it. I didn't know anybody on the set, but everybody was. I remember being very friendly. And I enjoyed the character I played.
Yeah, Dudley
Laywicker, and
fantastic.
I just came up with something nutsy, and I enjoyed it. It was and Gaylord Tartain, Sandy Helberg was in it. Robert Wool. I mean, I still see Bob occasionally. We play poker together in that same game.
I'm sorry, with who?
Robert Wool.
Oh, you play poker with him? Oh, okay.
Yeah, once in a while. Yeah, there's a poker game that a bunch of showbiz people.
Yeah, I know. Robert Costanzo plays. I don't know who he plays with.
Bobby Costanzo plays. I did a play with Bobby.
Oh, yeah.
I love Bobby.
Oh yeah, he's a good guy. Trying to get him on actually as we speak. Your character was supposed to be an 18-year-old senior in high school. You were actually like 33 at the time.
Oh, at least. Yeah. What year was it?
I believe it was 1980.
1980. So I was
13.
35. Yeah, I was at least 34, 35. Because I came out in 77. I was 31.
You played Dudley Laywicker, the much maligned honor student. You did it. You nailed it. You nailed the role, Billy.
Well, thank you.
I know it's one of my favorite movies, and I think I've put it on Facebook as well. I put the poster up or something. Did you get to meet Wolfman Jack at least?
No.
Oh.
No.
Oh, that hurts.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's the same thing with Arnold Schwarzenegger or Vincent Price. It'd been nice to meet those guys.
I know. Where was the location for Tubby's Drive-In?
It was on Ventura Boulevard in a diner. I think that's mostly where I filmed. In a diner somewhere on Ventura Boulevard. I don't think it's there anymore.
Okay.
But that's where it was.
Did you get hurt on the film, or almost get hurt jumping through a window?
What are you, some sort of wizard that you get this information? This is astounding.
Really? Good. Send all your friends send all your actor friends my way.
Well, I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to. I sort of gave somebody the raspberry and ran and jumped through the back window, open back window of a car. And I probably, in long term, I probably screwed up my back somehow for that. Goodness. But basically, I didn't make it in one.
You weren't a spry 18-year-old kid.
No, I wasn't. I was pretty. In those days, I was pretty good physically, and which is why I decided to do it. But in one take, what you're probably referring to is I didn't make it. I didn't get through the window, and I sort of fell out. And my arm went down, and in the scene, the guy didn't know I didn't make it, and he started to pull away, which would have made the car go over my arm. And luckily, I saw it coming, and I pulled it away, just in the nick of time. And Jesus, the crew, the cast, they were all running toward me. They were very worried. But yeah, I almost did get hurt. I mean, I probably did, but not at least. I saved the arm.
Mm. Yeah, it's amazing. Unfortunate. Sometimes some stuff does happen. It's unfortunate.
Oh my God, all the time.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. How much would you say acting is talent, and how much of it is luck?
Well, acting is mostly talent. Getting the job is 98% luck. I mean, and that's the way it is.
Because a lot of go ahead.
Well, my friend of mine in college, director who doesn't matter. He said, you got to be ready. You always have to be ready, physically, mentally, to get the job. So that's the preparation. So there's preparation, then there's talent. You got to have it when you get the job, and you got to have luck to get the job. And I've been lucky in any number of ways in my career. And things, you never know. If something, like if I stayed in New York and I didn't come out to do the Aaron Spelling thing, maybe something else would happen. You never know. It's the road not taken.
Because the Aaron Spelling show that you're talking about, that was like a gift that kept giving for you.
Not the Aaron Spelling show. Because of the Aaron Spelling show, which only lasted 10 episodes, I signed a development deal at Universal, and I basically sat on my tuchus for about a year. And then after that, things started to happen. That's when not necessarily the news came on. But the Aaron Spelling show didn't. I remember one of the last things Aaron said, God bless his soul, was we saw each other on the lot after the show was canceled, and he yelled out of his car. He says, "We're going to take care of you, youngster." And that actually never happened. but that's okay.
I mean, he didn't invite you into his house. I mean, you probably need a GPS to get into the bedroom.
Never been to his house. Never been there.
Again, you got a huge resume, and God bless you. You're constantly working.
Thank you.
I always ask people people are gonna come on my show have a resume like yours. I always ask them. I mean, is there somebody, an actor or director you're dying to work with, but you never had?
No, I can't. Not off the top of my head. I mean, Adrian Lyne was great. Frank Marshall, Arachnophobia was great. I mean, really great. There's no like a John Ford or John. You mean some of those guys or Scorsese or
right.
No. I as an actor, you just want to work, and you don't care who directs it. You don't care who writes it. I mean, in the old days, God bless my stupidity, I used to turn down things occasionally, not just because of the quality of the stuff, or it was off color, or it was I will never do that again. I promise you.
Yeah, because you don't. Yeah, I mean, even if it's junk, you're still getting paid.
Well, you still get paid, and that's exactly right. And if it's offensive junk, then you got to think a little bit. But if it's not that offensive, then you take the job, because chances are it's never going to be seen.
Yeah, right, right. Hush, hush. Again, you got a great resume. If somebody they told you, listen, you can only pick one. Either you do theater, film, or television for the rest of your career. That's all you can do. Which one would it be?
Probably theater.
Yeah, seems to be the consensus.
Yeah, probably theater. I mean, I that's what I grew up doing and did for years and years and years. Even when I was here, we used to go. Joy and I used to go back to do plays at a theater that she helped create. Yeah, I think that all things being equal,
Well, nothing gets left.
Nothing
gets left on the cutting room floor.
Well, that's true. You do have a more control over it, and like we said, it's never that lucrative even if you're a major star and doing Broadway, it's never that lucrative. But there's something about the theater that your people that you talk to probably say the same thing. There's something very magical and rewarding, and all those other cliches about doing a play.
What are you working on now, Stuart? If I can ask.
There's a couple. Actually, I'm about to do a radio recording of A Christmas Carol for a guy named Ethan Dettenmeyer, who it's for charity. It's for kids. And then next year I'm going to do. I work for Friends now. I'm going to do. Seriously, I'm going to do a movie called. Oh dear God. Deep in the Forest for a friend. I'm going to do another movie. I can't remember the name of it, for another friend. I just did a couple of movies that I did for friends that are going to come out. American Christmas and God knows I can't.
There's so much. Right. How can you keep track? I mean, there's so much.
Oh, I can keep track as long as I take pills. I can keep track. I'm off my meds today.
You know what I want to ask you, Stuart? Please correct me if I'm wrong. But
sure.
Do you do episodes of the Golden Girls at nursing homes?
All right, now you've talked to somebody, and
no, I swear.
Now it's a little freaky. Yes, there's a not a nursing home, it's an assisted living place in Ventura Boulevard, and my friend Henry Pollack, wonderful actor, was there, and he decided to have a play reading group, and he needed help because he was under the weather. So my wife and I, and an actress named Eileen Graff and her husband Ben Lanzarone, we went up there, and we do indeed. Betty White, luckily, is a friend of mine. So we got scripts from the Golden Girls, and we give it to these older people, men, mostly women, but men and women, and we rehearse them, the various episodes, and then we put them on for the people in the assisted living place.
Oh,
and Golden Girls, we've done a bunch of stuff, mostly Golden Girls, and it's just we haven't done it in a while, and we miss it. But we're going to try to start doing that again.
That's fantastic. God bless you for doing that, because they are the elderly are like wonderful people, and they have so much wisdom to give to everybody.
Oh my God!
Mm.
I mean, people think that because you're old, you're dumb or believe me, that's the farthest from the truth. These women are sharp.
Mm. Yeah, no, they are really. I mean, I see a lot of them during the course of my full-time job, and they're wonderful people. And
what is your full-time job?
I am a ready for this. I am a letter carrier.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I might have to edit that part out. I just walked into the WNTN, which is where we are now. Howard Stern started here. A lot of wonderful big-time DJs started here. And I just delivered the mail one day, and I walked into the radio station. And as a joke, as a conversation starter, I asked the station manager, I says, hey, because I'm a pretty funny kid. I said, can I get a show here? And he said, what do you do? I says, I'm the Hollywood Kid. I'm a big movie guy. And he says, sure, put something together. And almost 250 interviews later with some huge, I mean, I don't mean Mickey Mouse people. I mean Larry King, Paul Sorvino's. I've done a ton of Stuart Pankin, some wonderful people. And I've been very lucky. I work hard at it.
Good for you. That's admirable, man.
I appreciate it. And like I said, I'm dead serious. If you got some of your acting buddies that can come on the show, I would love to have them, because it's very difficult for me personally to get a guest. Number one.
Well, I got your number, and when I run into my acting people,
This is
if I think they're worthy of you, I'm going to call. I'm going to ask them.
Yeah, this is my producer number. I'll Facebook you my number.
Great.
Great. And this has been great, Stuart. And you're one of the nice people. And thank you so much for doing this and taking the time out of your busy schedule, because you are one of the great character actors. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on and spending some time.
That's so kind. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed it.
Stuart, can you not hang up real quick? Can we do a quick ID?
Sure.
Can you just say, maybe you could say, the Hollywood Nights character, Dudley. Can you say
Dudley?
Oh, you can say whatever you want. Just say, hey, Stuart Pankin. You're listening to my pal Mike on Real Talk with the Hollywood Kid. Whatever you want to do.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hey, this is Stuart Pankin, and I'm talking to my pal Mike on Real Talk with the Hollywood Kid.
Wow.
Is that it?
One take. Jesus Christ. I wonder why I can't find that joke.
Let me do it one more time.
Okay, go ahead.
Hey, this is Stuart Pankin. I'm talking to my pal Mike on Real